our community do not want to admit. You see, for a long time, black people existed in community with only other black people because they were forced to do so. So black American culture had its own code, it had its own rules, it had its own understanding by nature of literally just the reality. Once that shifted, we have seen over time that what's been considered black culture in terms of value system, in terms of even like things like manners and politeness, etc., that's not as clear cut as it used to be. The Venn diagram of black culture and American culture that used to exist side by side now is very much eclipsed. And where once upon a time, we were able to say like, oh, well, we know when we go in this black community, we can expect this treatment, we can expect this behavior. That's not the case anymore because black communities don't necessarily adhere to what was once considered to be black communal culture. So that's why you'll also see like black companies like Radio One, like Essence, etc., that don't operate on black culture. They operate solely in black commerce. They operate in black commercialism. So they're selling blackness, but they're not living in blackness. Like when you buy from me or, you know, like Mess in a Bottle or sorry, I'm just hungry, so I'm trying to think of like black merchants. But when you buy from folks who like exist within black culture, you understand that there is a difference between black culture and black commercialism. You can be a part of black commercialism while existing in black culture, 1000%. But it is not a requisite for you to be in black commercialism. You can be in black commercialism and not be carrying forward black culture. And when we talk about black culture, I think Kwanzaa ends up being a really good start. I think Kwanzaa ends up being a really good start. The principles of Kwanzaa end up being a really good start for if you are carrying through black culture. You know what? I'm going to do this on the show. I'm going to do this on Views from Amanda Land. Kwanzaa is a litmus test for are you existing in black culture. Now, some might say, well, what does it matter about if it's black culture or American culture, et cetera, et cetera? So the reason why it matters is because black culture is a version of indigenous culture. The original black culture that had to form out of ostracization, out of being marginalized, etc., what came out of the necessity for black people to form their own indigenous culture within this country. And so any indigenous culture naturally is connected to things that are completely antithetical to colonialism. So in my opinion, what we have seen is the indigeneity of black American culture usurped by colonialism. That is why people like Barack Obama were put in office. People like Barack Obama were put in office to aid in the usurping of the indigeneity of black American culture. Because ultimately, black Americans and Native American culture is the only real culture of the land in this nation. It's the only real culture of the land in this nation. We were forced to work land that wasn't ours. And even though there are white farmers, they were working land that was stolen. And so when we see black faces in high places that are perpetuating and carrying forth the empire and imperialism, we have to ask ourselves, what is the actual goal of their being in that position of a place that actively works to undermine the advancement of black people? What is the actual purpose of them being there? If they're not there to advance black people loudly and definitively, what is their purpose of being there? Now, they may get some things done, but if they're not actively, loudly committing to saying, I'm going to advance black people in office, what is their purpose of being there? Kamala Harris said very clearly, I will not pass laws specifically for black people. She said that without wavering. And y'all were like, it's fine. So y'all couldn't figure out how to simultaneously say, fuck Trump and, ma'am, I need you to do better. Y'all couldn't figure out how to do that. And then wanted to make me a pariah for demanding that? Cut it out. No. So these are my theories about things. And I just feel like we are in a place now where many of us have been sucked into colonialist American culture, which is harmful. It's harmful. Black culture was not always what it is now, what people think it is now. And y'all are saying that she wasn't going to get elected saying that. I think that that's a very ignorant thought process, considering she did not get elected by not saying that. And even if she didn't get elected saying that, what she would have done is she would have mobilized. She would have mobilized people. And if the goal was to really disrupt Donald Trump and his cronies who are Republicans, then that means that you do what you do and you say what you say beyond the moment, because the goal is to mobilize people for the movement. You're not mobilizing for the moment. You're mobilizing for the movement. So when I see Kamala Harris sitting up there talking about, we need to keep going on in American ideals. We need to what are American ideals? American ideals are literally destabilizing countries, using freedom of speech as a false flag, because they don't actually honor freedom of speech, just bombarding us with propaganda on a regular basis. Now, I don't know if you know this, but members of the Israeli force, members of the Israeli offense occupation force can now get the same benefits of members of the United States military. Did you know that? They're not even properly taking care of our veterans. Now we have someone here, Roll Love 15. Y'all worked against Harris. So this type of thinking that encouraging Harris to engage beyond her white predecessor was somehow working against her, that thought process right there is working against yourself. It's working against yourself. That's what y'all need to understand. If you're not being encouraged to demand for your people, you're working against yourself. This wasn't the time to do Battle of the Celebrities. This wasn't the time. If he was such a fucking threat, then that's when you bring out all the guns you've got. You don't ostracize people. You bring people in. And that's what we are going to have to really learn how to do.